Okay, let's continue along. I was talking about unordered lists and how you make them. UL either side, top, bottom, and each item in the list gets an LI, a list item, open and close. Normal kind of structure for a block element, and this is actually really like a block element within a block element, because the UL is a block element and so are the LIs. We usually, now these are made to work together, but in general we don't put a lot of block elements within block elements. We might put inline elements within block elements. So what would this do so far? Let's run it. There we are. I'm going to make this bigger just so you can see more. So we have one block element, the H1, the H2, a paragraph. We've begun the list. I'm going to let you finish up the list and make each of those its own list item. Let's continue along with the next piece. Okay, so we have something called ages, which is like another group of things, right? But look at the structure. It's like a list, kind of like ages, percent, dimensions, so on. But each one has a definition afterwards. So this is a different kind of list. It's a definition or description list. It's a DL. So we're going to have to create that structure now. So in a description list, we have a description list around the entire list, and then we have description terms and description definitions. So think about it. We name the list, we name the term, we name the definition. So this list starts here. I'm going to scrap all this stuff in a list. There. I'm going to put a tab on it so we can get it in a little bit. There it goes. That's good enough. And I'm going to make it a DL. And I'm going to close the DL at the end. Okay, and it lights up to confirm with me I've done it correctly. And I'm going to put my term, the DT. Now you could have more than one DT before you have your DD. In other words, like a couple different words which are defined in the same way. So you have a DT and a DT and one DD. Or you could have one term, one DT, and more than one DD after it, like a term that has more than one definition. But if you think about these, it isn't just for like glossaries. Imagine your skills in your resume. You have a skill, and then you say something about it. Or imagine a list of volunteer work. You might have the volunteer place or job, and then you might have a description of what you did about it. So whenever you have like a term and a description or definition, you could think about using this kind of list. Close DT, right? And then this is what? This is a DD. For description definition, I'm just going to do one of them. This probably is most appropriate to tab in one level like that and so on. How does this look? Let's run it. So it's ages is the term and automatically indented, not because I indented it with a tab. Automatically indented is the definition. If you continue, percent will be a term, you'll have a space on top of it, and then you'll have indented definition, and so on as you go down through. I'll let you finish up that bunch on your own. And now I'm going to go down to, after the list, we have how to handle city names, which is like a different category, a different H2. So this will be its own H2. And close H2. And this should be at the same level of indenting as my other H2. So I can follow down this little line here. It helps me out right there. Okay, so what happens, we have a couple of paragraphs and then a list of things we have to do in order. So that's going to be an ordered list. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's make a paragraph. I'm going to indent that paragraph. And next comes my list. These are all things we're going to do in order. Okay? So I'm going to tab that in. It's going to be at the same level as the paragraph. I'm going to add a blank space up here. What kind of list is this? It is not a UL, not an unordered list, but an OL, an ordered list. And close the OL. So we again have a list, and this is the type of list that also has list items. The first one is determine whether your city is on the AP list of Dateline cities, so on and so forth. So let's make that one. That is LI. And we close the LI. It lights up, and I think that should be, oops. Control Z works, by the way, in Notepad++ also. And guess what? Another LI, why not? And we're going to close the LI. And there are many more that I will let you do. I'm going to also do this last one, though, here. This last one, which is a LI, and close an LI. I'll let you do the others. Let's save and run it. And we have 1, 2, and we only have 3 because we don't have the other ones, but these other numbers will arrange themselves properly when you put the other ones in. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about an inline element, an unusual one called an ABBR, which I ask you to use in here. We're going to use the ABBR around the VT abbreviation to give it the appropriate title. Let's go. I'll show you what I mean by that. Now, we probably wouldn't use this for a state abbreviation. Those are pretty obvious. But imagine like the name of an organization which is abbreviated. I suppose you could use it for AP to remind someone that that means Associated Press. Probably be a bit more obscure organization. You can use the HTML ABBR function. So this is an inline element, so it's not going to make a block. There we go. And this does have an attribute, because if I just save this like now and run it, it doesn't do anything. Okay, so there's my Vermont. What has happened? Nothing has happened. Let's go back and look. We have to tell it what the title of that abbreviation is. In other words, what is the real word? So we do title equals, whenever there's equals sign, there's quotation marks, and now we'll type Vermont. We can say the abbreviation means Vermont. And we'll save that. By the way, every time before I run, I save. I save and run, save and run. Because if you don't save, you're not going to see your most recent changes. And I hover over the VT, and I get a tooltip text which says Vermont, which is how that ABBR works. Okay, something else I ask you to do in the instructions, I ask you to include a comment. I'm going to let you read about the comments on page 60, and don't make a silly comment, but make one within the text. Comment is information, is a text in HTML that does not appear in the browser when the page is viewed normally. The text is still available there. Anybody could view the source and see it, so you wouldn't use it for information you didn't want people to see. But it's not there to be seen. It's usually a note to yourself, like this page was updated such and such a time by somebody, or you could take a chunk of actual text and use a comment around it to make it not appear properly. In my finished version of this page, I've made a comment. So here, I made a comment. You can have more than one DT or more than one DL in the group. See how the comment is structured? Opening and closing tags, opening and closing single tag around the comment. Let me show you what you could do with this. Let's say I decided right now I want to eliminate this street addresses, money, clock, time. If I make it a comment, I can take text within the page and comment it out, essentially. And now if I run it, that information is no longer visible. It's still there. Search engines would still find it, but it's not viewable in the normal way. So I'm going to get rid of that comment. I want you to create your own comment someplace, but don't eliminate text. I also ask you to use an escape or a special character and you can read about those on page 100, to make the double hyphen an M dash, So let's take a look at that. The double hyphen is down here at Vermont. This is like a long dash and a date line is how it would be. So how do we do that? Well, all these special characters, there's two versions of them. There's numerical versions, and there's kind of like word versions. You can use either one. They work equivalently. So I'm going to use the word version. M dash as in M dash. They always start with an ampersand and are followed by a semicolon. We call it an escape character or a special character. There's other names for it. These are characters that would normally have a special meaning for HTML, so we have to have a way to type them, and we do it with these special codes. So that would work. I saved it, and now I get a long dash there. It's typically used for some special, like for copyright symbol, and for trademarks, and if you actually need to use a less than or more than symbol, of course. You can use it for some other reasons too. A non-breaking space character is an important one. You can read about that. You should know about that. And we should save regularly, and you are about ready to be finished this assignment at this point. Read through the assignment sheet, which includes a mock-up of what it should look like when it is finished. This is the sheet that you can look at on Moodle. And I'm going to do something else now to go along with this information, to try to add some more information for you. What about some other kinds of codes? What's an HR? Well, let's imagine I decided that this information that follows, or let's do something different. Let's make a copyright. I'll make a small, which is typically how we designate legalese, and I'll say copyright 2000 jackdowns. Better make that capital C for copyright, right? You do not have to do this. This is not part of the assignment. Please don't do this. I just wanted to show you that. An HR is what we call an empty or a replacement character. It doesn't tag. It doesn't have, it's an element that doesn't have two parts. It doesn't encompass any text or anything else in the middle of it. So that's an HR. And what it means is, yes, it does create a horizontal rule, but what it means is the information that follows is significantly different. It's a thematic break. So let's run that. And you'll see it goes on its own line. So it is a block element, but it is an empty or replacement block element, not a normal two-part element. Okay, what else can I show you? Another kind, how about an inline element? I'm going to do an inline element that is, and I'll put it right here, within this paragraph. Let's do an image. You've already done an image. IMG, SRC. IMG says do an image. SRC says where is it? What is it called? And what that comes equal sign and quotation marks. And then if you want to, you could do alt, which is the text that would appear. These are both attributes of this tag, this IMG tag or element. Alt would be the text that would appear. And we're going to say it's APStyle book cover. Now, you don't have this image, but I have one. I'm going to go grab it. And here it is. And I'm going to copy it. And it should, if I'm really using it, I should put it in my root folder. It's called stylebook.jpg, so that's all that has to go in here. The other trick is that it's sitting here right next to my HTML document, so I don't have to say where it is. Let's go ahead and run it. Okay, there it is. I put an image in there. So that is an inline element, images are. There's only one set of tags. It's not a double set, right? So it's an empty or replacement element. And I was going to tell you more about the grouping elements. Some examples would be div or span. I want you to read about those. I'll go over them in a later video. The grouping elements, your text doesn't split them up that way, but these are ways that we grab a hold of chunks of text or images or other things to style in certain ways. So we need them later in CSS.